Friends, today we are going to see about how to develop a project. Like what are the steps involved in developing a project. What are the steps involved? So, as a final year students and the PG students, so like pursuing like ME, BE, BTech, MSc, etc. So, doing project is one of the major factor to learn about new technologies, steps, etc. So, I divide for to develop a project. I divide those steps into 4 categories, like plan, evaluate, execute, and test. So these would be the 4 steps involved in developing a project. So the first step would be planning phase. So the first step would be planning. So in planning, the user need to choose what is the domain he or she is going to do a project. So which one suits you? Like in domain you can opt like web mining, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. So these are the domains you can choose. So if you choose machine learning as your domain, so what kind of area you're going to implement, like travel, health, etc. So planning phase is normally deals with what kind of domain you are going to choose and what is the area in the domain you are going to opt for developing a project. It normally deals with the domain, and in that domain what is the area you're going to choose. Like in the domain you can opt like AI, ML, web mining, like cloud, like database. You can choose from these you can choose your domain. If you choose machine learning as your domain, and in that area like you're going to solve like choose area like travel, health, etc. So this would be the planning phase. So the next step would be evaluate. So in the evaluation phase, so choosing what are the requirements you are going to you to choose to develop your idea to the next level. Like what are the hardware software requirements, and what is the language you are going to use. You're going to evaluate your idea to the next level. So it normally deals with that. So what are the requirements? And then next, one most important thing you need to consider in the evaluation phase, like what is the problem it going to your application is going to solve in this environment. So what kind of problem it going to solve, and what kind of solution your application going to provide for that problem. So it normally deals with that thing, like problem solution factor. So this would be the thing it going to cover in the evaluation phase. So next phase would be execute. So after your idea has been prepared and you had evaluated what are the requirements for to develop your project, so next thing you need to consider like execution. Normally execution is nothing but how to develop. So how you are going to take your plan and requirements to the next level, like development of the project. So to develop your project, you're going to choose what are the tools you're going to use for developing. Like if you're opting like a machine learning as your domain, you can opt like open source tools like TensorFlow. You can opt like that, like. And next, if you're going web mining as your domain, you can use Java as your language and you can develop your project. So execution is normally deals with development phase. So it normally deals with the development phase. So execution is development of your project. And the last and final phase would be the testing phase. So your project has been planned, and you had evaluated what are the requirements needed for developing a project, and you had developed your project. And the final phase would be the testing. So in testing phase, this is the most important phase, like how it going to deal with kind of users, like what kind of scalability it deals with, like what kind of test cases it going to solve. So your application needs to solve n number of users, like different kinds of users. It needs to provide solution to different kinds of users. So your application needs to test with that kind of stuff to come to a conclusion that your project is the best one for all kind of users in this environment. So testing, it normally deals with the test cases, and next it deals with scalability, like reliability, that kind of steps it needs to cover in the testing phase. So you need to test your application with different kinds of test cases to come to a conclusion for the scalability. So these are the steps it's going to cover in the testing phase. So I just covered only the basic thing required to develop a project. So I'm going to give summary of what we are covered so far. So the first phase of developing a project would be the planning phase, and the next phase would be the evaluation phase, and the third phase would be the execution phase, and the final phase would be the testing phase. So in the planning phase, you are going to choose what is the domain, and in the domain what is the area you need to choose, and the next phase would be the evaluation phase. In the evaluation, what are the requirements to develop a project, and it deals with problem solution. So what kind of problem it deals with, and what kind of solution it's going to provide to those problems. And the third phase would be the execution. In that execution, you're going to develop a project, like development phase. What are the tools you're going to choose? Like it normally deals with the development of your project, complete development. And the last phase would be the testing phase. In the testing phase, what are the different kinds of test cases? You need to test your application with different kinds of test cases, and how it going to solve the problem of scalability, like n number of users. So I just covered only the overview of project. I hope you understand. I hope you get some idea for developing a project. So thank you, friends. Thank you for listening to this video. So please subscribe to my channel. Please click the bell button to receive notifications for upcoming videos. Please do share this video. So thank you, friends.